down and spoke close to the man's ear, then handed him the lion's pelt and the club, before continuing to the prow. "Why is he giving them to Polites?" Diomedes asked. "He's definitely up to something." Eperitus nodded. "But what?" "Some trick or other, no doubt." "No. He promised me he'd act honourably, especially after the unjust way Philoctetes was marooned on Lemnos, or because the poor wretch was bitten by a snake. It was a harsh decision, but perhaps the years have helped us forget the stench of the wound and how he used to groan and wail." "We were too harsh, my lord," Antiphus interrupted from his position at the twin rudder. As an archer himself, he'd always empathized with Philoctetes. "With the bow and arrow Heracles gave him, he could have ended the war in the first year. Hector and Paris were the backbone of the Trojan army, but 2 shots from Philoctetes would have brought them down in the dust and left the gates of Troy virtually undefended. Then perhaps it was the will of the gods that we abandoned him on Lemnos," Diomedes replied. "Though if he has survived, I wouldn't want to fall foul of him if he still has his weapons. A good reason for us to remind Odysseus of what we agreed, don't you think, Eperitus?" Eperitus nodded. "Omeros," he barked, staring at a lad who was sitting with his back against the side of the ship, busily restringing a tortoiseshell lyre. "Put that damn thing away and make the boat ready. Get Elpenor to help you. And I want my breastplate, greaves, and sword ready the moment we're at anchor. If I find you've been spending more time on that instrument than you have cleaning and oiling my armour, then you'll only have yourself to blame for the consequences." Omeros leapt to his feet and called over to another young man who'd been busy casting dice with his shipmates. Eperitus was certain his armour would not have been cared for nearly as well as Omeros's lyre, but he felt no anger at the fact. The truth was, since arriving at Troy only a few months before among a shipload of Ithacan replacements, he'd proved himself to be a promising warrior with a propensity to learn quickly and a calm intelligence that was not flustered by the confusion of battle. That was why Eperitus had made him his squire. More than that, though, he found he liked the boy. "And you, Eurylochus," he continued, looking at a pot-bellied sailor who was sitting at one of the benches and gnawing on a scrap of dried beef. "I want you to prepare the anchor stones." "I'm rowing," Eurylochus replied through a mouthful of meat, refusing to look at Eperitus. As much as Eperitus liked Omeros, he despised Eurylochus, who used the fact he was Odysseus's cousin as an excuse to be lazy and arrogant. Eperitus's dislike was more than matched by Eurylochus's own hatred for him, which was driven by jealousy and a misguided belief that the position of captain of the guard should have been his by right. But the years had taught Eperitus how to deal with Eurylochus. "You'll be swimming if those anchor stones aren't ready by the time I return," he said, and followed Diomedes to the prow while Eurylochus fumed behind him. "You shouldn't embarrass my cousin in front of the crew, Eperitus," Odysseus chided as they joined him. Eperitus raised an eyebrow. "You're right. I should have just stood there and let him undermine my authority." "The petulance of a small-minded fool won't harm the respect these men hold you in, you know that. And humiliating Eurylochus will only provoke him to acts of petty revenge. He's done it enough times in the past. Talking of disrespecting authority, didn't I ask you to prepare the anchor stones in the boat?" "They're being seen to," Diomedes answered. "Besides, you've had your chance for a private word with Polites, so you should be grateful for 2 extra pairs of eyes in this fog." Odysseus grinned, and the 3 men turned to stare out at the milky vapour that shifted spectrally around the galley. "I don't know what you're up to, Odysseus," Diomedes continued, scanning the mist, "but you promised us no tricks, remember? Philoctetes was shamefully treated when we left him here, and if he's still alive after 10 years, then I doubt he'll be feeling any better disposed towards us, especially as you were the one who brought him here. The first sign of deceit from you, and he'll shoot us all down like tethered doves." "I brought him here to save him from being murdered after he beat Achilles and Medon," Odysseus retorted. "They'd have silenced his groaning for good if it hadn't been for me. Not that I expect him to appreciate that. But I've agreed to let you do the talking, and I'll keep my promise, Diomedes. Unless he speaks to me, that is. He'd sooner shoot me than talk to me, though, so that's unlikely. And to make sure he doesn't recognize me, I'll keep my hood over my face and my lips sealed." Eperitus gave him a skeptical look. "And if we fail to persuade him?" "How can you? Assuming he's survived this long and no passing ship has offered him passage back to Greece, then he'll have been alone on this rock for 10 years. Do you think he won't snatch at the chance to get back to civilization and a bit of human company? If he does show hesitation, any hesitation at all, just do what I said. Offer him food and drink, and tell him about Calchas's prophecy, that Troy can't fall until he has rejoined the army. Believe me, after 10 years without...